Hi folks, I'm Cricket Lou, Infoblox's Chief Evangelist and a Senior Fellow here. I wanted to talk to you a little about BloxOne DDI. First, and let's get this out of the way, NIOS is great. It's on the strength of NIOS that we've gotten to where we are. It's the preeminent DDI platform used by 70% of the Fortune 500, and it's been critical to our IPO and successive acquisitions. But NIOS has its limitations. Horizontal scalability is one of them. Grids can't get much bigger than 500 members, and believe it or not, some of our customers need more DNS servers and DHCP servers than that. Now that's a terrific challenge to have if you can meet it. Grids also top out at a few tens of millions of objects, and we have some customers who actually push that limit. Finally, NIOS is monolithic. It contains the code to deliver DNS and DHCP, but also to support the UI and the API and grid communication. If we wanted to do something as simple as adding a checkbox or fixing a typo in the UI, we need to produce a new version of NIOS for that. And we have to put that new version through a QA cycle. Customers have to roll out that version to their grid. Well, we've worked hard to make it easy to roll out new NIOS versions on a grid with as little muss and fuss as possible, but it still takes time and it requires some disruption as members restart. These limitations aren't news to anyone who's been at Infoblox for a while. We've been working on addressing them for literally years. That brings us to BloxOne DDI. BloxOne DDI was designed from the start to address these limitations. With BloxOne DDI, we've replaced the grid with a cloud-based control plane. That means we can support customers who have thousands or even tens of thousands of DNS and DHCP servers, and a customer could store hundreds of millions of objects in the cloud without any kind of a problem. We built that cloud-based control plane with cloud-native technologies. Now that's important because we saved a tremendous amount of time by using these powerful software building blocks, and we can benefit from the work that others are doing to enhance those technologies, and we can contribute to them ourselves when we need to instead of starting from scratch. It's like the difference between making a sculpture by snapping together Lego bricks versus carving it out of wood or chipping it out of marble. We also used containers as the foundation of our cloud control plane. Containers are a way of packaging code with the stuff that it depends on, like tools, software libraries, and settings, so that you can run that code quickly and reliably anywhere you want. Containers are much lighter weight than virtual machines, so we can start a fleet of them when we need to in order to handle unforeseen load, like a lot of simultaneous users, for example. And when they're not needed, we can shut them down and save on our AWS bill. Moreover, because the control plane is separate from the DNS and DHCP services, we can upgrade it without affecting the delivery of DNS and DHCP at all. So adding that checkbox or fixing that typo is easy, and it doesn't require any intervention by our customers. Now, we use containers for the part of BloxOne DDI that runs on premises on customer networks too. And that means that DNS, DHCP, and all the other major subsystems run in their own containers. Why is that important? Well, each container is like its own little computer with its own copy of the operating system, and it can have a different version of the operating system and different libraries and so on. With NIOS, everything ran under the same operating system. Have you ever upgraded your phone's operating system and found that some apps no longer work? It's exactly the same with NIOS. Sometimes we have to upgrade the operating system's kernel as in corn, not Sanders, in order to fix a bug, or close a vulnerability, or add new functionality. And that may mean that we have to tweak a lot of other software to work with that new kernel. So every upgrade could be a major undertaking. Even if the development is straightforward, we still have to QA the whole beast. Now, with BloxOne DDI, each container can be upgraded separately without affecting any others. And you can upgrade a container by sending just the changes instead of all the code in the container. So if we're just upgrading bind, we don't even have to change the whole container image, just the layer that contains a new version of bind. Now, like I mentioned earlier, NIOS has some really sophisticated upgrade features. Even if a customer has got hundreds of grid members, he can upload a single new version of code to the grid manager, and the grid manager handles distributing that code to all the grid members, and the grid manager can coordinate upgrading the two appliances in an HA pair, a high availability pair, one at a time, manually causing them to swap roles in order to minimize downtime. All of this is really cool. What's cooler? Not having to deal with upgrades at all. I said before that we can handle upgrading the cloud part of BloxOne DDI without causing any disruption to a customer services, but we can also upgrade the on-premises part of BloxOne DDI automatically. And because we used containers, upgrades usually only affect one or a few containers, and they're small because it's just the changes. So we can simply tell a customer, hey, we've got some cool new features, and if you don't do anything, we'll automatically upgrade your BloxOne DDI hosts at such and such a time. If that's convenient for you, fine. If it's inconvenient, you can defer the upgrade to a time that's better. I'll bet you have some apps and devices that work like that too, don't you? It's super handy. And that's just the beginning. We haven't begun to talk about the services, but I'll save that for another video. Thanks.